Welcome to the Vol Bros, presented by the Uldawa Club. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin. We are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And yes, that was a little bit different intro. We yesterday was not fun for a lot of for any Vol fans. However, Friday didn't stink for the Vol Bros. We have a sponsorship deal now with the Uldawa Club, a local golf club right here, just outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee, located in the beautiful Uldawa. So we are very, very excited about that. And we hope that you check them out. You can check them out at the uldawaclub.com. And I will put that because people are like, Uldawa, how you spell that? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. So you can find them. I just put the link in the comments, and I will also put that on the screen as soon as I'm done typing it. There we go. All right. So the uldawaclub.com. So super pumped about that. Really, really a cool thing. Really a beautiful place. So we would highly recommend that place. So
I would also add we're going to be doing a lot of content with them over the next several months. And I would encourage you to go check them out. Fun place. They are catering to young families, and I would encourage you to go see all they have that they're going to be providing for people.
Absolutely. And we hope to show you a little bit of that over the next few weeks as well. Next year. So thank you to the Uldawa Club for joining us and partnering with us. We really do appreciate that very much. All righty. Some of the comments coming through. Mr. Osborne, appreciate you, buddy. He said, that's awesome, gentlemen. Congrats, growing the channel. Absolutely. Elijah said, I'm ready for Jeremiah to come in here and make me a little upset. I understand that. Jeremiah, if you were hoping you're watching, and we are ready to let you have the stage, buddy. We are ready to do that. Audrey, we appreciate that. She's excited for us with the Uldawa Club as well. Oreo Puppy Dog said, got 2 games now behind the sticks and playing ultra conservative east-west offense. I'd hope we would never be here again. But here we are. Totally understand that. Audrey said, I have questions. Number 1, are we get back to getting no live ball fouls called against our opponents? Well, that would be a legit question based on the lack of holding calls against Arkansas yesterday. Number 2, Nico didn't have any open receivers I saw in any of the 4 sacks. All righty. Nico's Pants. That is a unique name. This episode of Smokey is called Bacon Bits. Yep. Ashton, welcome, buddy. Good to have you with us. There were open receivers. Nico just gun shy. Tony said, I don't want to hear a bunch of sunshine pumpers tonight. This loss was embarrassing. And I totally agree. It was embarrassing. So we'll be sure to talk about that. Let's see. Moondrops B said Nico had an open receiver the last play of the game. If you watch game film, he did across the back of the end zone. It was the second trail guy coming across the back. He sure did. Let's see. Mississippi Vol, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. Tony said offensive line is terrible. Hurd and Campbell are overpaid. They're not good. Reese, welcome, Reese. Good to have you. Lance Hurd's biggest NIL bust of 2024. Let's see. Robert said we have to get our offense fixed. I agree. Rusty said it's been like that for almost 2 years. It's like we used all our referee karma against Alabama in 22. Let's see. Tony said even a middle school quarterback knows when you have 1 play left, you throw the ball in the end zone.
Yeah, let's not give middle school quarterbacks that much confidence, because I had a high school quarterback once who forgot he was supposed to do that after we called timeout and specifically told him. So
Oreo Puppy Dog said Nico did a Milton at the end. He did. It was reminiscent of Joe Milton against Ole Miss in 2022. Elijah said, I just don't understand how we're completely locked down first half, come out in the second half, score 2 touchdowns on first 2 drives, and then nothing. That's a fair point. And Sam said, can't blame it all on the offense when a backup takes them down the field for the go-ahead score. Well,
with a little help from a freshman who made a really stupid decision.
Yep. Yeah. So that's one of my takeaways right there. So with that, I've got starred on Mr. Osborne. He's the next comment up. But first, Rustin, let's give our takeaways. What did you take away from last night?
Well, it's only his sixth start, so I'm going to give him some grace here, but that was hands down Nico's worst performance of his career. It was just bad all the way around, and I went back and watched it today as well. The 4 sacks that Audrey mentioned about, we were going back and forth on X a little bit about that. One of those 4 sacks was definitely the offensive line's fault. The other 3 were 100% Nico's fault. And the issue is, and we're going to talk a little RPO offense here. So when you're running an RPO, you're predetermining based on alignment of the defense what you're going to do. On one of the 3 RPOs, he actually should have given the ball. He screwed up, misread that, ended up taking a sack because he didn't have anybody open because it was the wrong read, and he should have given it. The other 2, and this is something RPO quarterbacks just have to learn. Sometimes guys aren't necessarily open, but if your read says they're going to be, you've got to throw them open. And you've got to just take the read, throw it to a spot, and let them go run through it. And 2 of the sacks that he took were RPOs where he didn't trust himself. He didn't throw it to the spot and throw them open, and he was waiting on people to come open, and he can't do that. And that's going to be a teaching point they'll go over and practice with him. It's something I'm sure they've repped 100 times, but until you do it live and until you have to, do it when bullets are flying, it's just different. And 2 of the 4 sacks were him not throwing the ball where he was supposed to throw the ball. One was him misreading it, should have given it, totally blew the read. And one was the offensive line's fault. I thought the defense played extremely well. We put them in bad positions all night. When you go on the road in the SEC and, take away the final touchdown, which we let them have on purpose, Sam Pittman would have run the clock out, kicked a field goal, so they would have had 16 points. You go on the road in the SEC and only allow 16 points and hold Arkansas to 3 yards per carry and, really shut them down at the most important moments. The defense played extremely well all night and did not deserve to lose that game. They did their part. You hold a team to 3 yards per carry, you've done your job. We said the other night the goal should be stop the run and force them to become a passing team. To Taylon Green's credit, he completed some good balls. We stopped the run, forced him to be a passer, and he did a good job throwing the ball. But even when he threw the ball, we did a good job of bend but don't break, just gave up field goals. You allow 16 points on the road in the SEC, you should win every game. And, the final thing I'll say, everybody was so excited when we said Lance Hurd and John Campbell were playing. They probably shouldn't have. They were both clearly not 100%. Lance Hurd had an awful night, could not have played worse. I wish at halftime they had just sat him down and put somebody else in for the second half and not let him go back out there because he was not at full strength. If any of you all watch the PFF rankings and you watch how they grade players, don't put any stock in offensive and defensive line grades, especially offensive line grades. It is impossible to grade an offensive lineman without the play sheet. And what I mean by that is some random person at PFF who's sitting there grading offensive linemen is just guessing. They have no idea what they're looking at, and they don't know what the play call was. So they don't really know who did the right thing and who didn't. So it's literally impossible for them to grade. I noticed tonight they gave Lance Hurd like a 44 and John Campbell a 48. Now, Lance Hurd played awful, so his grade might actually be pretty accurate. But John Campbell's was not. John Campbell was playing his tail off. He was playing as hard as he possibly could. He got beat a couple of times, but dadgummit, that dude was giving everything he had. And I can't say that for Lance Hurd. I saw Lance Hurd take several plays off. Some of that's because he was playing injured, and they should have gotten him out of the game. So that's as much on the coaching staff as Lance. I wasn't going to say this, but I will say one more thing. Something's got to happen in the box to field communication. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Heupel's not listening to Halsey. I don't know if Halsey isn't giving him good information, but the middle of the field was wide open the entire game. I went back and watched it today. I saw it live. I saw it again watching it back. If the concern was we don't think we can give him enough time for receivers to come open over the middle, okay, then throw a tight end screen, throw a running back screen, throw that shovel pass that we've thrown 10 times this year. Anything to attack the middle of the field. We had so many opportunities, and that includes Nico. Multiple times he could have pulled the ball down and gone for 15, 20 yards right the middle of the field because there was no one. And for some reason, we just never attacked it. So I don't know if that's concern on the sideline for the lack of offensive line depth. I don't know if that is the case, then dadgummit, put somebody out there and let them go see what they can prove they can do. If that is Halsey not communicating that to the field, that's a problem.
So my main takeaway was it concerns me that they weren't as focused as they should have been. That's what concerns me.
Yeah.
Because
Dylan Sampson admitted that after the game.
Yeah. The reason that I would say that they weren't as focused as they should have been, let's just take the fourth quarter. Let's just take that. The last possession of Arkansas offensive possession when they scored a touchdown and go up. First play, we're kicking them the ball, knowing we have to stop them to win the game. First play of the drive, we didn't even have 11 men on the field. We had 10 guys on the field.
Yeah.
How in the world does that happen?
Ironically, Joshua Josephs was so late running on the field, he almost ran into the running back because they ran it to where he was coming on the field.
So that shocked me because, the game is on the line and we don't even know who's supposed to be on the field. That's an indictment on the players and the coaches. Now, I will say on that drive, going back to what Audrey said earlier, on that drive, Jermon McCoy got held so bad. It was the longest run of that drive. Dude had about a 20-yard rush. Well, Jermon McCoy was held so bad that's why the guy got out. So I totally agree with what Audrey was saying there. And then the hold on James Pierce Jr. in the first half was just absurd. Nothing. No call.
There was another one on Dominic Bailey too, where Dominic Bailey whipped him and the guy tackled him from behind, literally just took him to the ground from behind, right in front of the head ref, and he just stared at it and let it go. It's like, yep. What does he have to do?
Also in the fourth quarter, running into the punter. That's we were getting the ball back.
Oh,
instead they go down and score. So
what makes it even worse was what Heupel said post game about it. He was asked about it, and his only response was, "We were in punt safe."
So he shouldn't have been anywhere near the punter.
He's not even supposed to rush. He's supposed to be blocking.
Yep. So that was a stupid mental mistake that, essentially it didn't cost us the game, but it contributed to us losing that game for sure.
100%.
Also in the fourth quarter, running out of bounds with no time on the clock at the end of the game. Not a smart play. That's understatement of the century. Just mental errors. And then if we go beyond the fourth quarter and just look at the game as a whole, how many false starts or self-inflicted penalties did we have that continually put us I can't remember. I think it was Oreo Puppy Dog said at the beginning of the thing. How many penalties did we have that continually put us 1st and 15, 1st and 20? I mean, just over and over and over and over. First play of the game. First play of the game is a 15-yard completion to Dante Thornton Jr. Called back because we had offensive lineman 6 yards downfield. I mean,
that one was legitimate.
Very frustrating.
Though. I mean, that was one of the few calls all night that it was like, okay, yeah, that's obvious. Sure. Because he wasn't just a couple; he was 6 or 7 yards downfield.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's a stupid mental error by our guys.
What was more head scratching about it though was it was a sprint out pass. Like he should have been either slide protecting into the gap next to him or stepping and hinging to pick up the backside stunt. He had no reason to be downfield. Like I think it was Andre Carrick. Like there was literally no reason for him to be leaving the line of scrimmage.
Yep. Our clock management at the end of the game was suspect, to say the least. I do agree with Heupel that he had to let him score at the end.
He had to,
because
Sam would have just run the clock out and kicked the field goal.
Right. We only had, I think, 1 timeout left, maybe 2, if that. And Arkansas had the ball on the 6-yard line. They could have literally just milked the entire clock, sat there until 3 seconds, called timeout, and then kicked the little chip shot field goal to win the game. So I do agree with Josh Heupel's decision to let them score at the end so that we would even have a chance of winning the game.
Yeah.
But the way we managed the clock once we got the ball, not great. We at one point we let 39 seconds go off the clock in between plays. Can't do that.
But even there were so many mental errors. Even on the play where we let them score intentionally, Boo Carter tried to tackle the guy.
Yeah. Boo Carter was trying to take the guy down.
He's the only player on the field. He was the only player on the field that was trying to stop the play. And it was like, how does he miss that? How does he not know?
Exactly. You're exactly right. Our play calling, last year people, and let's make one thing very, very clear, because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying we need to just give Alex Golesh whatever he wants to come back, just open the bank for him. Listen, Alex Golesh was never calling plays at Tennessee. Joey Halsley does not call plays at Tennessee. There's one guy who calls plays at Tennessee, and that is Josh Heupel.
I will say I do wonder, and that's where I go back to the comment I made. I do wonder if the feedback from the box is different, because Heupel's calling plays, but he's calling it based on the eye in the sky. And I feel like there were opportunities that were there that we never attacked. And I'm again, it's one of two things. It's either we didn't feel like our tackles could hold up, and if that's the case, you need to get 2 more tackles in there and see what young guys can do. Or it's the eye in the box is not giving good feedback.
Yep. So with all that being said, last year people thought Heupel didn't trust Joe Milton, and that's why he wasn't opening up the playbook as much as he did for Hendon Hooker. Well, here's the thing. If that's the case, then he really doesn't trust Nico, because that playbook has gone zoop and gotten even smaller. So we've seen that the last 6 quarters that Tennessee has played.
I think they're going to have to do one of 2 things. They're either going to have to say, okay, we're a 2-phase offense. We either have 12 personnel, and when we go 12 personnel, we're pounding the rock. And honestly, we're doing what Vanderbilt did against Alabama and going 12 personnel, forcing everybody into the box. And then the 2 wide receivers are split out as wide as you can get them. And they're basically one-on-one with the DB in front of them. That's how Vanderbilt hurt Alabama. Alabama was putting 9 in the box and having to play one-on-one on the edges. It's not hard to get open when there's only one guy covering you and there's no help. And you can still run the ball effectively with 2 tight ends. And so, I think we're going to have to sell out to either true 12 personnel, or when we want to go fast, dadgummit, put your 4 best athletes on the field in the receivers positions and go fast. Because it is infuriating to watch Miles Kitselman go in motion into a trips formation. And it's like, we know we're not throwing him the ball. Like, as soon as he goes into a trips formation, they immediately go zone because they're like, we don't have to cover that guy. Holden Stace, he's not going to hurt. He's not striking fear in the hearts of anybody. These are guys who need to be play action receivers. They need to be pop pass receivers. They fill a niche, but they don't need to be out wide, especially when guys like Caleb Webb, Nathan Leacock, Mike Matthews, Chaz Nimrod are standing over there watching. Like, there's so much athleticism on that sideline. Go let them be athletes. It's mind-boggling.
So we've had a lot of comments come through. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and give our last 2 parts, and then we'll just spend the rest of the time going through the comments. If you had to pick a guy who played well last night, who would it be?
Whole linebacker room, no question. Keenan Peely, Jeremiah Thielander, Arian Carter, they were all over the place. They had an outstanding night. Keenan Peely had 14 tackles. Arian Carter Arian Carter did a phenomenal job in pass coverage. He was everywhere. And Jeremiah Thielander does all the little things well. If you go back and watch on almost every short yardage stop, Jeremiah Thielander is somewhere near the ball. It's unbelievable. They put him on every short yardage play, and he somehow finds a way to get in on every single play. Those 3 dudes could not possibly have played better.
Yeah, my 2 guys were Keenan Peely and Arian Carter. They had phenomenal games. They played really, really well. I give an honorable mention to James Pierce Jr.
Yep.
2 tackles for loss, including a sack. He was living in the backfield, and it was nice to see. So if you had to pick what you thought was Tennessee's best play of the game, what would that be? Mine was Dylan Sampson's really long, almost touchdown run. Kudos to Danico Slaughter for tracking him down. But that cut he made to go to the outside, that was beautiful. And
the jump cut was nice.
My second one would be Deshaun Bishop's first carry in the second half. When he just would not go down and he was just running over dudes. Like, that was awesome. That was fantastic.
I'll give the scramble drill to Dante for about 40 yards. It was a great throw. It was at the same time, it was a little infuriating. We only need 3 yards. Dylan Sampson was wide open on the check down. All he had to do was toss it to him. He would have run for about 8 to 10 yards. He made it harder than it had to be. He rolled out of the pocket backwards and then chucks it 40 yards downfield. Luckily, Dante's a stud and went and got it. But it was, I hate to call that the best play of the night. It was the biggest chunk play of the night. But the reality was, even that one was a mistake. He should have easily thrown the check down to Dylan Sampson. He was wide open. Again, he would have run it for 8 to 10 yards before he was tackled. Only needed 3. The whole night was just a symphony of errors, physical errors, mental errors. Nico's got to learn to distribute the ball. He's got to learn to trust his reads and throw it to where the ball's supposed to go and let his receivers go be players.
So let's turn our attention to the comments. We've got a whole bunch of comments coming through. So let's see what we got going. Mr. Osborne said, as I said last night, 100% credit to Arkansas. They outplayed us, out-toughed us, out-hustled us, and out-coached us. Florida now becomes an early season must-win game. Yeah, they can't lose again. I mean, they might be able to sneak and get by with one loss to either Alabama or Georgia, but even that is putting you at risk of not getting in the playoff now because, they have made every game a must-win game now, in my opinion.
I would say everything he just said on one side of the ball. They did not outplay us. They did not out-hustle us, and they did not out-coach us on defense. Our defense played a fantastic game. Tim Banks did a fantastic job. There's nothing you can say about the way our defense plays. That was a fantastic effort by all of them. Our offense has to quit putting them in bad situations.
Yeah, we actually outrushed them as a team, which it didn't
By
feel
40
like
yards.
that. Yeah, it didn't feel like that in the game, in the moment, but we did outrush them as a team.
Dylan Sampson and Deshaun Bishop averaged 6.3 yards a carry. And if you go back and watch, the large majority of that's when we're in 12 personnel.
Reese said, terrible management with timeouts on Heupel at the end. Tony said, wonder if Nico's ready to get back in Neyland. He said he likes road games. Yeah, good question. Rusty said defense was gassed at the end. They were bashing us every play. It was going to end in a walk-off field goal if we didn't let them score that touchdown. Agreed. We didn't have a choice. We had to let them score.
Yeah.
Let's see. Elijah said we have really talented receivers. We need to let Nico need to give Nico a chance to make a play. Let's see here. Robert said, feel really bad about losing Squirrel and Brew last night. So I'm glad you mentioned this. This is going to be an interesting thing moving throughout this week. Here's the deal. If Brew's wrist is broken, I don't know how you can be a wide receiver and catch the ball coming at you 80 something miles an hour and your wrist is broken. I don't know how you can do that.
It just depends on where it is. If it's further up the wrist, they'll just tape it off, and if he's got the use of his fingers, he's fine. If it's lower down toward his hand, no, he's out.
And I mean, that could probably be like 6 weeks in a cast. So if that's the case, then he would be coming back around the last part, like last game of the season, hopefully for a playoff. Hopefully. Squirrel looked like maybe it was a concussion kind of situation.
Yeah.
So he might be out this week, but I would venture to guess he would be back against Alabama.
Although at one point they were checking up underneath his shoulder pad, like they were checking his collarbone. Yeah. That was a little weird.
You're right. It looked like maybe it was his right shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Rusty agreed with you. The shovel passed. Dylan needs to come back. Oreo Puppy Dog said players went on many vacations during the bye week, and that bit them. Maybe so. You're exactly right. Receiver injuries really made it hard to stay on the field in the second half. They had to pull a hurt Thornton off the bench late. That's true. Audrey said, why didn't our defense adjust to the new personnel in their offense, knowing that their offense was going to run the ball? You talking about are you talking about the very last drive of Arkansas's possession? Their very last drive. Is that the one we're talking about? Oh, well, I'll let her answer in the comments. You check ahead and see if she says yeah. I'll go back to the. Here we go. Let's see. Tony said 39 points in 2 SEC games is not good. The offense is struggling. Yes, it is. It does not have an identity right now. Let's hope that we can run the ball. That's the offensive identity right now.
And the reality is when we go 12 personnel, we do. I mean, Dylan Sampson and Deshaun Bishop averaged 6.3 yards a carry. Honestly, that last drive, there's so much we could have done there. We ran the ball on first down, got 3 yards, and then all of a sudden we decided we were going to let Nico move the ball through the air, and it's like, dude, take the air out of the ball. Snap it with 1 second left on the play clock, bleed this thing down, run it 3 times behind 12 personnel. Are you telling me that Dylan Sampson averaging 6.3 yards a carry can't go get 10 and 3 carries? I mean, make him prove it. And even if he doesn't, you'll still bleed 1.5 to 2 minutes off the clock with 4 minutes left in the game. So they're going to get the ball back. You know, Jackson Ross is going to punt it to the other end of the field. They're going to have to go 70, 80 yards in 2 minutes. Make them prove they can do it with a backup quarterback.
Yeah. Audrey said, I noticed Arkansas was running the same defense NC State and Oklahoma played, stifled our passing game. So I thought the post-game comments about that was very interesting. Heupel said it, and I think Dylan Sampson said it, that they came out in a defensive look that they had not shown yet on tape, on film. So kudos to Arkansas's coaching staff for having their team well prepared in a defense that they had not yet shown on film. That is a credit to them for sure. Ash McVall said 100% sure about Pro Football Focus people. One of my best friends graded players last season. He knows football, but it's almost 100% graded by casual normie fans. My buddy never even played football growing up. So there you go. I appreciate that. Tony said coaches are going to have to give Nico some called runs. Can't be scared of him getting hurt. He's getting hit in the pocket anyway. Yeah, I mean, spread him out 5 wide, do a quarterback draw, let him go.
We had opportunities in 12 personnel to do it. There were so many opportunities to run QB counter, especially Oklahoma started sending them hard off the edge. That's the easiest guy to block in a counter play. It should have been ride dive with Dylan, pull it, attack the backside B gap, let the 2 tight ends wash out the guys that are stunning off the edge, 10, 15-yard gain, no problem. It was there. It was there the whole time.
Let's see here. Real Puppy said on a good note, Vandy. Yeah, absolutely. Mississippi Vol said he agreed with their lack of focus. That's very concerning. Absolutely. Audrey said she 100% agrees about Lance Hurd's poor performance. She says Campbell is doing his best dealing with the injuries that he has. Yep. Mississippi Vol said, I was even in a bad mood walking into church this morning, but not as much now. I totally understand, man. I get it. Let's see. Referee stuff. Rusty said that running into the punter was backbreaking. Absolutely. Absolutely. Carl, welcome, Carl. He mentioned the same thing about the presser, the coaches and players saying that they had not yet seen that defensive look. Real Puppy Dog said, I think all the players believe the rat poison from the media. Tony said clock management on the last drive was terrible. Matt, I think you just hit the head on the nail on the head here, buddy, for the offense. Not really the defense, but for the offense. He said, I don't even know what our team is now. So that's the problem. I agree with you. That's the problem. This isn't a normal Tennessee offense under Josh Heupel anymore, at least. I don't know what's happened that's put them in this situation, but there is no balance to the offense right now. None. Our passing game has to make drastic strides very quickly. Rusty was talking about we almost should have used one of our timeouts before that 2-minute timeout. Let's see. Chad said, you live and learn and get better. Let's hope so. Go Vols. Absolutely. Carl said that they don't trust Nico. Rusty said the sequence in the first half where they made it out of their own goal line was so crucial. Missed a safety by 1 foot and then converted a 3rd and long to a wide open running back. Yep. We let that dude escape on a little wheel route and nobody covered him. You're exactly right.
I don't know that I would say they don't trust Nico. I don't think Nico's proven himself trustworthy. The RPO game is all about decision making and confidence in making throws. And last night, he was not confident in his reads. He was not confident in making throws. He held the ball entirely too long multiple times. And, when you're a play caller and you're trying to dial some things up, again, just like we talked about at the beginning, we're not attacking the middle of the field. That's either one of two things. Either they don't believe the offensive line can hold up that long, or the eye in the sky up in the box is not giving them good feedback. If it's because they don't think the offensive line's holding up long enough, then they need to make some changes. The other part of that is they may be worried that Nico isn't going to throw the ball. And he's got to let it go. He's got to believe they're going to get there, and he's got to throw them open.
So I do think this is an interesting comment right here. What happened to Ethan Davis? So of the 3 tight ends, Ethan is the most athletic, pass-catching oriented tight end. And I was wondering why he wasn't on the field on the last drive personally. Because, I mean, it's not like we're trying to, hide the fact that we're going to throw the ball down the field. He should have been in the game, in my opinion, because he is the best receiving tight end for sure. So Andrew's saying something that I've seen a lot on Twitter today. He says Glenn Ellerbe hasn't been recruiting or developing online talent from day one, and he's Heupel's best friend. Very concerning. So here's the thing. Glenn Ellerbe is actually a very, very good offensive line coach. We have a 5-star left tackle right now. That's the thing. People are bashing on Lance Hurd, and he didn't play well. I agree. But he's a former 5-star. He's a transfer, so we didn't get him out of high school, but he's still here now. He was recruited here and signed here as a transfer. Our offensive line class this past year was fantastic. We currently have a 5-star offensive tackle committed to our school. All of those guys were recruited by Glenn Ellerbe. So offensive line is 100% a developmental position. Offensive line coaches really can't be judged on their people until they, of the 5 dudes on the offensive line right now, 3 of them were recruited by Ellerbe. Cooper Mays and Javante Spraggins are only 2 that weren't. I don't know. I can understand why people would be upset because Lance Hurd had a terrible game last night. I think that the fact that we didn't see Dane Davis at offensive tackle last night shows that they're doing a good job of making personnel decisions. I don't know. I get that. That's a tough one. I get it. I do.
Every time someone brings that up, I always go back to my same standard answer. A year and a half ago, Kirby Smart tried to hire Glenn Ellerbe away. If the number 1 team in America wants your offensive line coach, he's doing something right.
Sam said we're going to see the same defensive fronts until we beat it. Yep, I totally agree. I think that would be wise for other teams to do that. Totally agree. I think Audrey was saying she was talking about that last drive. So, they were moving the ball on our defense that last drive. Like I said, there was that hold on Jermon McCoy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they were just worn out. I mean, how could they not be? Time of possession, it was heavily in favor of Arkansas. Reese said, I thought James Pierce Jr. played well. Absolutely, he did. He was the 2nd leading tackler on the team, I believe. Let's see here. He was 3rd leading tackler. So Keenan Peely had 14 tackles. Will Brooks had 10. And then James Pierce Jr. had 9. Arion Carter had 8. So, had a fantastic game. Had most tackles for loss and sacks on the team. It's a good game.
And a pass breakup.
And Audrey made a good point. Lance Hurd and John Campbell Jr. are both injured. They're out there trying to play through injury.
But at some point, you got to make a decision. And Lance Hurd was definitely not 100%, and it was affecting how he was playing. He was taking plays off. you just got to make a switch. And I don't understand why we didn't give Larry Johnson some more run. I thought Larry Johnson played really well when he came in, and last night he hardly stepped on the field. And I'm sitting there going, this kid's playing half speed. He's clearly injured. Get him off the field and let's see what Larry Johnson can do.
So I'm glad Rusty mentioned this, because this play that he's talking about, we had the running into the kicker when we ran into the punter. And this play was either the very next play or the 2 plays later. It was one of the two. I think it was immediately after we ran into the punter. And James Spears Jr. got in the backfield in a hurry. Dude tried to throw it over him. He tipped it up in the air and turned around and tried to find it, to intercept it. And it just fell just before he could get his hands on it. That would have been unbelievably huge, because that would have immediately given us the ball in field goal range. That we would have won the game if he caught it. So, but that was such a close play. I'm glad Rusty mentioned that. Let's see. Rusty said the 2 4th down stops from our defense were massive. Absolutely. Carl said, Matt, welcome, Matt. Matt's a fellow Chattanoogan. He said, I'm too mad to talk. I understand. Carl said Nico holds the ball too much. He does like to hold on to it a little bit. That is for sure. Rusty made another good point. Listen, Tennessee was very fortunate that we went into the half and Arkansas had only scored 3 points. Like, we were very fortunate about that. They could have easily have been 17-0 going into halftime. So kudos to our defense for making the stops when they had to. Let's see. Oh, Schmidt said a lot of football left. I agree. Absolutely. I agree with this. I'm assuming the name is It's Fatal. I'm assuming that's the name. He said Nico has happy feet. He does. A little bit too much, I think, on one throw last night. But he does. Andrew said Venables gave the blueprint to stifle our offense. Got to figure that out quickly and adjust, like Rustin said. Where are the 2 tight end sets? Let's see.
And honestly, if Brew and Squirrel really are as injured as people are saying they are, I say go strictly 12 personnel. Put Dante Thornton as wide as possible on one end of the field. Chris Brazzell as wide as possible on the other end of the field, and either pound the rock up the middle, or use some quarterback counter, or throw it out to the one-on-ones with those 2 guys, because I guarantee you those 2 dudes are going to make somebody miss from time to time. And if they walk people out to help on them, then you get to run the ball all day because there's not enough people to tackle. I think that you've got to do it. If that's the personnel we have right now, use it.
Mina, like you join us. Welcome. Good to have you. So I'm at 9:26 p.m. in the comments right now, so I'm getting closer. Let's see. Real Puppy Doc said, just think we still have Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, and Vandy. Kentucky and Vandy are both playing well. I mean, you're exactly right. There are the only cupcake, I guess you could say, left on our schedule is UTEP. That's it. They got to bring their A game every single game, and they really need to win every single game. I mean, if they lose another one, I don't know if they're going to make it in the playoff. Let's see here. HC14 said, as Nico develops, his deep throwing accuracy will need to get better. Yeah, that was a close one, man. The Squirrel had beaten Danico Slaughter, and it was just, gosh, it was so close, but just overthrown by about a step and a half, 2 steps. VFL and Text said, good evening, guys. Audrey said Squirrel has a broken collarbone. I don't know. They were looking up under his shoulder pads at his collar area and his shoulder area. I hope he doesn't have a broken collarbone. If he has a broken collarbone, he's going to be out for the season. I hope that's not the case.
There's a bunch of rumors floating around. It started on VolQuest tonight. Some random guy said Brew has a couple of broken fingers, maybe a broken rib, and that Squirrel has a broken collarbone, and that Bryson Eason's getting an MRI tomorrow on his knee. I would just say until you get some legitimate feedback on that, don't just take some random person's word.
Let's see. Pepper, welcome. Good to have you. They said Arian Carter let the running back out of the backfield without picking him up. Yep, that's right. On that goal line where they got escaped their own end zone. Arian was supposed to have the flat covered, and he didn't. He went towards the middle of the field. That's what allowed the guy to get open. That was probably his one costly play in the game. Otherwise, he had a fantastic game.
I don't remember watching that. Why was there another player in the middle of the field? Why would he go to the middle of the field if he's supposed to be the flat defender?
I don't know. Keenan Peely was in the middle of the field.
Okay.
And Carter never saw the running back coming out of the backfield. Never saw him. HC14 said the refs missed a lot of holding calls. I mean, like he says, wondering if the helmet mic was working for Nico. It was a strange night. Let's see. Bobby said, will we ever be elite with our current staff? I think so, yes. We're the number 4 team. We've been under Heupel. We've been ranked number 1 in the country and number 4 in the country in 2 out of the last 3 years. We want to win more than 8, 9, 10 games a year and see playoff opportunities at least 5 out of 10 years. What does Heupel need to do?
He needs to do exactly what he's doing. I mean, 2 days ago, we were the number 4 team in America, and after Bama lost, it looked like we were going to be number 3. It's one game. We have to move on, and they've got to show up. You know, they're going to have plenty of juice. They're getting Neyland at night against Florida. That place is going to be rocking. They'll be fine. They've got to figure out some of this stuff. They got to figure out their injuries and, scheme around the injuries. And I think there's opportunities there that they can use to their advantage.
Rusty mentioned that Bryson also got hurt. Bryson Eason. I hope he's okay. Let's see here. A couple people talking about how teams have figured out a 3-3-5 works against us. Yes,
it's actually not. It's actually not a 3-3-5. It's a 3-2-6. And what really needs to happen again in that 12 personnel. If you're in a 3-2-6, that means you got 6 defensive backs on the field. So you go 12 personnel before they can trade out, shift to it, whatever, and then slam it at them. You're just physically bigger than them at every position, and you should be attacking with it.
Sam said, can we run 12 personnel with 2? Just so we're all clear, 12 personnel means we have 2 tight ends on the field.
Yeah, running back and 2 tight ends.
Can we do that with 2 injured tackles? Well, it actually might help those tackles.
It helps the tackles significantly, but I would also say if those 2 tackles are too injured to be productive, get them off the field.
Agreed.
Because Dane Davis and Larry Johnson are road graders. They can run block for sure. Pass pros where they have their issues. Those 2 dudes can run block all day. So, if we need to have 2 tackles in there that are run first dudes and then let the tight ends help them on pass pro, then let's do it.
Jared, welcome, buddy. He said, we looked awful yesterday, but we opened up a 16.5 point favorite today. I'm not sure we covered that now after the last night. Well, I agree. I don't think we will either. But I do think it's interesting that line, he's right, it did open up at 16.5. It's already down to 15.5. So
when the injury reports come out, that'll change significantly.
Yeah, other people agree with you there, Jared. They don't think we're going to cover it either. Rusty said, Nico has not looked sharp at all since the opener. Definitely not the last 2 games, other than the throw to Dante in the Oklahoma game. Nico still hasn't caught up with the speed of the SEC. I think that's a very fair assessment. Let's see. Mississippi Vol said, I want to see how they respond on Saturday. If they come out and look like they did last night, I think 8-4, 7-5 becomes a real possibility. I mean, if they if they play like they did last night, absolutely. I'm hoping that the maturity of the team steps in and we don't see that again. That's my hope. Tony said, Heupel says all the time, good teams get better every week. I'm waiting to see it. Tired of the talk. He said it again last night after that game. You're right. Ash McVall said, was Nico's lack of confidence the last two games based on the look the defense was giving with that stack concept?
He's just not trusting his reads. He's being a high school quarterback. That's what I mean. That's the most basic way I can say it. High school quarterbacks don't understand throwing people open. College quarterbacks not only understand it, they throw it and let it happen. And especially in the RPO game, you've got to throw people open. You got to trust the reads correct and throw it to a spot, let him go. He's not trusting the read. He's just got to sling it.
Like you said, I wonder if we have any injuries we aren't being told about. I would say probably 100% likely.
When that injury report came out and all it said was we had 4 dudes out, nobody questionable, nobody doubtful, I was like, don't think this is accurate, because we all knew Lance Hurd and John Campbell were injured.
HD14 said Nico missed Kitzelman twice on the last drive.
But that goes back to even the final play. And I hated this response. Part of me liked it, but when the play broke down, it ended up being his downfall. On the final play, Nico was asked what happened. He said, I was looking for Brazel. So throw it up.
Yeah. Give him a chance. Brazel was going to the corner of the end zone. There was another trailer right behind him. If he had just lobbed it to that corner, he would have had at least 2 guys in the area who could have at least had a chance.
But my other major issue with it was the alignment, the way we aligned before the play. So every school teaches the scramble drill the same way. If the quarterback scrambles out of the pocket, you immediately stop your route. You sprint to the sideline. If you get to the sideline and he still has the ball, you immediately turn and get vertical and get up the sideline. Okay? They were on the 21-yard line. Chris Brazel was the farthest guy out on the right. If you're looking for Chris Brazel, when you sprinted to the sideline, you took every other receiver to where he was. And then when you kept holding on to the ball, they ran out of real estate and they started getting vertical toward him. So now you've got 3 receivers in one area in the end zone. It's not real hard to play defense when all the receivers are in the same spot. So if he really wanted to throw the ball to Brazel, as soon as he caught the snap, it should have been 1, 2, 3, put it up. Let him go get it. Go make a play, Chris Brazel. Game's on you. But instead, he scrambled and actually made the situation worse for every receiver and eliminated his options.
I will say there was one pass where he did throw it to Kitzelman on that last drive, and Miles Kitzelman heard footsteps in a bad way. He knew he was about to get blown up, and he dropped the ball because his mind was on self-preservation, I think, in that particular moment. That there was... As soon as it happened, you could just see him looking right at the DB. He knew he was about to get blown up. John said that your safety shouldn't be the second leading tackler on that. Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Yeah. He was around the ball a lot, though. I mean, guy's a ball hawk. He's always around the ball. And they walked him down at linebacker quite a bit, too.
Tony said in 4 years, we don't have an offensive lineman from high school that can start. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there are 4 dudes that are 6-year seniors that are, 22, 23 years old out there. But I get what you're saying. I totally understand.
I do think that's one thing about Ellerbe that if you were going to criticize Glenn Ellerbe, I do think that's one thing is he seems to be the old school offensive line mindset. I want the oldest ones out there. I'm not gonna risk it on these younger guys. there comes a time when you got to give these dudes a chance. Like you just got to. Larry
Sure.
Johnson's a great example. Like when Lance Hurd's out there playing half speed, getting people beat. At some point, you got to go, okay, Larry, go win the job. I mean, it's crazy.
Let's see here. I'm going to jump down a little bit. Will said, Evan, do you have your new top 12? I do. We haven't done that yet. We're about to. Sam said, if we don't play the Florida game with a different scheme, this problem is on the coaching staff. Agreed.
Yep. Well, if those injuries are correct, we're going to probably be in 12 personnel a lot with Dante Thornton and Brazel on the edges. If Thornton's injured, then honestly, I think you say, all right, Mac Matthews, go be Ryan Williams. It's your time to shine. And put Brazel on one edge, Mike Matthews on the other, and let them go be ballers.
Yeah. The only 10 you see, welcome. Good to see you. She said, hey, bro's been tuning in from the beginning. Have nothing nice to say. Totally understand. If the offensive line continues to struggle and the play calls continue to be predictable, we'll continue to see this. Absolutely. Totally agree. 100%. Audrey said, is it possible that the chatter in Nico's ear through the helmet is causing him issues? Maybe.
Possible.
That's a great point. He might be overthinking things instead of just playing.
Yep.
Absolutely. Let's see. That's a name. Knoxville Predator catcher said, we have a serious problem with developing the offensive line 3 full years, and none of Heupel's guys are ready to play a single snap.
I think they are ready. I think they're just not playing them because they got older guys in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, you got 4 6-year dudes out there right now. Let's see. Rusty said, besides Mississippi State, the whole SEC slate is losable now. Yeah, well, Mississippi State played well against Texas the other day. So, do you think Nico could have benefited from playing more during UTC and Kent State? I get it, but he has 6 games in a starting role. I mean, I understand that.
No, because UTC and Kent State can't simulate a 3-2-6 that the receivers struggle to get open against.
I get that.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, I get that. That's a good point. JL, welcome, buddy. He said, I think they bought into their own hype too much, that they would coast. Came out flat and didn't execute. Yeah.
Dylan Sampson even said it after the game. He was asked what happened, and he flat said they've got to learn to take every day of practice as the most important day and stop taking days off. Like he was very candid.
Ash McVall says nobody else is going to do it apparently, so I'll open the can. Hypothetically, does Gaston Moore have a better grasp of the offense? Yes.
Does he have a better grasp of the offense? Yes. If they will use Nico the way Nico's skill set can be used and stop trying to keep him from getting injured, there's just such a huge ceiling there. I want to see, I mean, call me crazy, but Bobby Petrino was sitting on the other sideline. I wouldn't be too upset if they pulled out some Lamar Jackson film and asked Bobby Petrino, hey, what all did you do for Lamar? And throw in some Lamar Jackson stuff for Nico and let him go be a player.
And Bobby said, got to say, listening to you guys breaking it down sure helps compartmentalize and move on. Appreciate you all. I appreciate that, Bobby. Thank you. It's very kind. Rusty said Squirrel actually almost made that catch when he got hurt. You're right. He almost did.
I think he actually did make it, and the ball rolled out whenever he got injured when he hit the ground.
Right.
Like when you watch the replay, he controlled it all the way to the ground.
Yeah, he had it until he rolled over. He sure did. Eric said, what's up, Evan and Rustin? Sorry I'm late, but it's hard. It's one loss. This team ain't done. Their season's not over. Yeah, I mean, especially with everybody else losing now too.
Yeah, it's a long season, and if we've learned nothing this weekend, we've learned that literally anybody can win.
John said if they don't start playing the young guys, The portal's going to be busy. Yep, you're right. Knoxville quarterback said, Knoxville Predator catcher said, do you think the staff is afraid to get Nico hurt?
Yep. There's no other explanation. I mean, again, the middle of the field was wide open. If they had run 1 or 2 quarterback counters and had some pullers for him, he'd have gone 15, 20, 25 yards each time. And there's only one reason you don't call that.
Knoxville catcher said, we've gotten away from what made us a threat, stacked receivers and spreading the field. We aren't scheming guys open.
There are times, and this is nothing against Squirrel White, but there are times when I wonder if Squirrel's size limits us. Because there were so many things to attack the middle of the field they used to do with Jalen Hyatt that they don't do with Squirrel. And I wonder sometimes it's because he's so small he can't get in the route. Like he gets bullied at the line of scrimmage and he can't get off the line of scrimmage, and deeper crossing routes, skinny posts, those things require you getting off the line quickly. And I wonder if that's why we don't see as much of that.
Mississippi Vol said that he hopes you and your wife had a good anniversary today. Let's see here. HC14 said, when I was at the Kent State game, it was so frustrating to see so many wide open receivers and Nico not throwing it to him. Sam said, is Ellerby going to sink the ship due to his loyalty to the older guys?
Not sink the ship. We've got too many players. To that last comment, though, I do think there is some validity to that. Nico not seeing open players. I think he is not on RPOs, because RPOs are a different animal. But on true pass plays, I do feel like he's predetermining before the snap where he's going with the ball. And if that guy's not open, he doesn't know what to do.
Jared said, what's the size difference between Jalen Hyatt and Squirrel White? So Squirrel's 5'10", I think. 5'9", 5'10". Jalen is 6'2". So
with a 6'6" wingspan.
Let's see. So let's go on to our last two little things here. We've been doing this now every week. This is today's AP poll. It came out at 2 p.m. this afternoon. So using that AP poll that you see on the right-hand side of the screen, this is what the college football playoff would look like if it started tomorrow. Texas would be number 1 again. Ohio State still remains number 2 as the highest ranked Big Ten team. We'll assume that they would be the conference champion. Number 3, Miami. Iowa State continues to move up the AP poll. They jumped from 16 to 11. But because they would be, in this scenario, the Big 12 champion, they would be the 4 seed overall. And then in the first round games, you have a 5 seed Oregon play Boise State. That would be actually a rematch from a game earlier this year. The 6-11 game, Penn State against Clemson, Snooze Fest City. 7-10, Georgia against Ole Miss. That'd be a fun game to watch. And the 8-9 matchup would be Tennessee against Alabama, the winner playing Texas. So this would not be a favorable matchup situation for the Vols. Favorable drawing, much worse than last week's for sure. But this is what it would currently be if everything were to play out. Any thoughts on that before we move on, Russ?
I'm glad there's a lot of season left, and this is going to change drastically because I do not like going to Alabama for a chance to go to play Texas. That's an awful place to be in that bracket.
Exactly. Totally agree. This is also now the first week that we've seen that Tennessee would not be hosting a first round game. They would have to go to a destination instead of getting to host it. But that's what happens when you lose. So as far as my top 12 based on who has earned it, well, this weekend really threw I was wrenching in my plans. But here's what I've done. So the first 7 teams, the top 7 teams, are all undefeated Power 4 teams. All those teams are undefeated. Texas is, well, I'll consider number one because they still have a good, halfway decent win over Michigan, although that win is looking less and less good. Ohio State, just a solid football team. And they're finally playing actual teams now. This week will be huge because we have Ohio State, Oregon this Saturday. So that's going to be a fun one. For Miami, 5 BYU, all those teams undefeated all the way through Iowa State. Number 8, Boise State, because Boise State's only loss is a 3-point loss at Oregon. That's the best loss of anybody on here. Tennessee's at number 9, ahead of Alabama and Georgia because of all of those teams. Well, obviously, you have to put Alabama ahead of Georgia because Alabama beat them head-to-head. And Georgia beat Clemson head-to-head, which is why Clemson is at number 12. So why is Tennessee at number 9? Is it because I'm one of the Vol Bros? No, it's because Tennessee still is the only team on this graphic with 2 top 25 wins. So because of that, that's why they're ahead of Alabama and Georgia. But this would be my top 11 if anybody in the national media cared. Will said you can't put Tennessee over Bama. Bama has a better win beating Georgia. I agree with that. They do have a better win. I agree. But Tennessee has 2 top 25 wins. Alabama has 1. Now, it is Georgia. I get that. I understand. So you could interchange those if you want them. Totally understand.
I think the win over Georgia gets canceled out when you lose to Vandy.
Also that, yeah. Yesterday, Tennessee lost to Arkansas. Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, who lost to Georgia State. So, yeah, I get that too. Let's see. Yeah, Audrey agreed with you. Will said, good point. Let's see. Rusty said Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia backers lost a lot of money this weekend.
Yes, they did.
Will Puppy Dog said, I'm pulling for Oregon this week. We need everyone to have a loss. Yeah, we do. Will said that Ohio State-Oregon game is going to be interesting this weekend. Yep. Only Tennessee said, I think because our defense is so elite this year, we have rushing Nico. We have rushing Nico to be ready, but I have always thought this year would be growing pains for him and Brazel. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I understand that. She said it just takes 2 years in Heupel's system for players to have it down and flowing. This year will be difficult. Yeah, unfortunately, next year we won't have the same level of defense as we do this year. Let's see. JL said, I definitely agree with opening up the quarterback run and being more aggressive. No room for error now. We got to win out and beat either Bama or Georgia. 100%. Yes. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Will said Oregon is going to get smacked. They might. Sam said, give it a week or two. So this week's games, and this will be our last part of the show here. There are some very good games.
Yeah, it's a good weekend.
So if you were to go to thevolbros.com/contest, here we go. I'll zoom in so everybody can see a little bit better. So this week's games, Utah, Arizona State. Actually, that's a Friday night game. So everybody's picks are going to be due by Thursday this week because the first game is on Friday. So we got Utah, Arizona State. It's a good game in the Big 12. Texas and Oklahoma. We got the Red River rivalry this week. That'll be a great game. Penn State at USC, that classic Big Ten matchup. California at Pitt. Pitt is currently undefeated and in the top 25.
Mm-hmm.
And California only lost by one point last night.
But did you see how?
I haven't yet, no.
They were up by 25 with 6 minutes left in the third quarter and blew it.
Oh my goodness. Well, I saw where Miami scored 21 points in the fourth quarter alone.
Yep. It was 35-10 with 6 minutes left in the third quarter, and then they imploded.
Arizona at BYU, huge game. Florida at Tennessee, probably closer now than what I would have said yesterday. Ohio State at Oregon, easily the game of the week. You got number 2 versus number 3 there. Ole Miss at LSU, another top 25 matchup.
That's
Vanderbilt at yeah, for sure. Vanderbilt at Kentucky, shockingly, is a really good game now. So that'll be fun to watch. And Kansas State at Colorado, another very good game. So there are a lot of really good games this week. It's going to be very difficult. But I do believe we got to give Rustin some credit. He now sits alone at the top of the leaderboard at 1-game lead, 44-16. Elijah coming in second there at 43-17. I'm 3 games off the lead, 3 games behind Rustin at 41-19. I had 2 rough weeks here, back-to-back weeks, 6-4 this week, and last week I went either 5-5 or 6-4. Can't remember. But Audrey said show off.
Well, considering that last year I finished almost dead last, I had to do something to make up this year, and let's all be real. This is dumb luck. Like gambling on college football is a great way to lose everything you have.
Yeah, for sure. That's why we don't do it. So, and this was only a $5 entry fee for those who are wondering. This was it. My mother-in-law actually had the best record at 9-1 this week. The only game she missed was the Tennessee one. Fun times. So Rustin is at the top of the leaderboard now. A lot of people went 8-2. That was good. Ash McVall said a good weekend. LOL 2007 called and said buckle up. Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend of college football, no doubt. It'll be really, really good. So I hope everybody has had a great Sunday after the loss. I know it's not fun ever, but we hope you've had a good Sunday. And we want to thank the Oldwall Club again for being the title sponsor of our show now. That's very exciting. We do appreciate them very, very much. Any last thoughts, Rustin, before we sign off?
Hopefully we get some good news on the injuries. I think best case scenario, Dante Thornton plays this weekend. I doubt any of the rest of them will. But if he doesn't, I hope we go a lot of 12 personnel and put Brazel on one side, Mike Matthews on the other, and say, go be players. It's time to have an identity and stick to it.
On that note, typically the SEC injury report is supposed to be released on Wednesday night. So we should have that and know all those answers as far as who will be playing and who will not by Thursday when we're live. So our next live show will be Thursday night. We hope everybody joins us. We'll be previewing a Manning Cast game, Florida at night in Neyland. That's going to be fun. So we hope everybody has a great evening, and we hope everybody has a good week ahead. JL said we better get it together this week or the fan base is going to lose their minds. You are correct. Yes, that is accurate. That is 100% accurate. Will said, have a great night, everybody. The sun's still coming up in the morning. Amen, brother. That's right. So we hope all of you have a fantastic evening. To all those who are still helping the people trying to recover, we appreciate you. Are still thinking about all the folks trying to put their lives back together from Hurricane Helene. And Carl, we know, Carl, you're not with us live, so I'm assuming you're going to watch it on the replay because Carl's the man. Carl, we got another one coming at you this weekend, buddy. So we hope on Thursday. So we hope you're all right. Like I said, thanks, bros. Everybody have a great evening. Absolutely. We hope all of you have a wonderful evening, and we are glad you joined us. Jeremiah from Oklahoma, or no, Arkansas. I hate that we didn't get to hear from you tonight, buddy. I hate it. Wish you had been here. You're always welcome to chime in the comments. So if you watch this later. So have a great evening, everybody. Go Vols. We got a big weekend coming up this weekend.